Gentlemen, zero Academy Awards, zero Golden Globes. But don't fear, they won a Teen Choice Award. Why in the world are we talking about Shutter Island?
Mhm.
We'll discuss it next on The Unspoken. Fellas, listen, man. Hey, hold on, let me make sure I get Adrian on the right energy, right? 80 million on the budget, right? 80 million.
80 million.
294 at the box office.
Respectable, yeah.
Shutter Island 2010 quasi horror film, uh, really showing us a tale of a U.S. Marshal who is investigating a disappearance on a island used for a mental health facility. Really quickly here, this show, and we just said 2010, right? This shows you the world's view, or at least Hollywood's view, on mental health illnesses just 13 years ago, right? Where people were drooling on themselves, and that's kind of how Hollywood paints this kind of thing. You know what I mean? We're moving into a different era of openness and how we view these kinds of conversations in regards to mental health. But 2010, Shutter Island didn't really give too much thought to that.
No, no. Yeah, like a lot of movies. If you go back to 2010 and watch a lot of movies, you'll be shocked as to some of the stuff that was said in some of those movies, and things that you just can't say even a dozen years later. That is very shocking to people now. That if my kids were to watch a movie and hear some of the stuff they said, they would be like aghast. But back then we were watching comedies, we were watching other stuff. But that's different. But Shutter Island, like you said, it was a creepy movie. Right? It was a creepy movie for me. I remember seeing it with my sister in the theater, all right, and watched this movie and loved the twist at the end, right? But the movie itself was really creepy, and it was like I liked it because it had me wondering what's really going on. Like you always I feel like you didn't really know the real story, but you couldn't figure out what direction the story was going in. So I thought Scorsese, he did a great job in this film during his Boston period there with him and Leo were coming every other weekend to do films like this. So this and The Party. So I I'll let you guys jump in here, but I thought it was a fairly creepy kind of film.
I liked it. I liked the movie. Now, what I liked most about this movie is because I had to ask myself when I watched it to its completion, and I had to ask myself, man, if something traumatic happened to me and I snapped, would anybody tell me? Like outside of like strangers and like people who would probably see me and don't know me, would somebody actually go to that depth or that level to bring me out of my craziness? Like, and in the crazy and the thing I liked the most about it was his psychosis was so deep that he couldn't see it at all. It was utterly normal for him. It was normal for him. You know what I mean? Like everything that was going through, everything that was happening, it was just a routine situation. Even though there was some things that weren't routine, for him, it was how he coped with it. But yeah, I really like that, man.
They talked about his levels of, and you saw his levels of trauma from the war, from his wife to, I mean, they went through all these kind of different things, and so that's how you set up an emotional connection from the viewer to the character, right? is show us that they've been through something, so we can feel a way for us. We can feel empathy towards this guy. We all had that for the first hour and 20 minutes of this movie. We had that. Did you not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did for sure.
I even liked the fact that Leonardo was the lead character for this story, because you wouldn't put him in the perspective of being out of his mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a star. He's a heartthrob. You know what I mean? He's that guy. Not at no point would you ever say to yourself, dude, this kid snapped, yo. Like something ain't right about this dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We would be remiss if we didn't. It's common knowledge now on this series. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the home run that they hit with the casting.
Oh yeah.
DiCaprio, Ruffalo in his prime to me. Kingsley's highly underrated. Are you kidding me?
Ben Kingsley is very highly underrated.
Yeah.
And I mean, put it this way, I mean, it's a Scorsese film. So I mean, you hear Martin Scorsese, you run to do a Scorsese film. He's still Hollywood royalty. So if he's making a film, you people want to be in that film. So he'll get A-list hitters all the time. So yes, I agree. The casting in this was very, very good.
Hey Moan, Kingsley makes a statement in the very beginning of the movie where he talks about the facility was a moral fusion between law and order and clinical care. Is that something you can get behind? Or you're like, no, those things should be separate entities, and that's why you're managing the Wild Wild West over there.
Oh, God, that's that's a deep question. I don't even know how to answer that. I'm not prepared for that. That's like deep political, moral. That's every level, bro.
It jumps out at me because of the depiction of the facility, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to go into was not only the acting of DiCaprio, Kingsley, and Ruffalo. We get they're great, but you're getting elite acting from the mental health patients at the facility, right? That's elite acting over there that you're getting. I'm not sure if you tuned in, if you don't recognize that.
Yep.
That lady in the beginning who with the thing, she creeped me out, bro.
Yeah. The one was like, shh, yeah.
I would have turned right back around, B.
So without getting too political with Chuck's question there, Mon, what's your answer?
I guess it's something I could get behind, but don't hold me to it. Because I
Wrong answer.
Jamal, what's one scene stood out to you in this film? I mean, we all saw it. We're gonna put the spoiler alert images up on the screen, and we'll do all that stuff. But so, what scene jumped out at you? What stood out the most?
I think when he finally hit the reality, like when he was actually breaking through the barriers of like what really happened with his kids, his wife, and just coming to that conclusion. For me, I feel like the breakthroughs are always a big thing to me, because it's a question of how far do you have to go to get there,
Yeah.
So I think that was big for me.
Yeah, Mo, what stood out to you?
Now, first of all, nobody could do a Boston accent. We're from Boston. It just pisses me off every time I was hearing them pop. I was like, yo, this dude. Oh man. But and Leonardo was probably the top 3 actors in my book, period. So I think he did a fair, yeah, I said it. He's top 3.
Top
We'll
3?
discuss that. We will absolutely have a show discussing that.
We gotta discuss that.
Yeah, it's top 3. Don't even do that. Don't do that. But the scene that stood out to me was the scene where he thought his friend was, his partner was dead. And he climbed down, and then he found the lady. And the way he was talking to the lady, come to find out, that whole scene never happened. He never talked to that lady because she don't exist. Like his mind was in overdrive with the rats coming out and everything, with the fire laying there. His mind was in overdrive, creating a whole world for him. Insane.
But here's the thing that's weird. There's a couple of things that are super weird to me, right? I'm all for progressive treatment. I'm all for doing the most you can for a patient in order to get a breakthrough. I'm here for that. Hey, man, they shut the whole island down for this dude.
Oh, hell, yeah.
They put on an elaborate play for this dude.
Oh, this dude.
Are you kidding me? Let me tell you something. If I was one of those workers there and he was talking to me like, hey, yo, let me tell you something. I'll put you right back in your cell, bro. You're talking to me crazy, man. They did a whole lot just to get this breakthrough. Maybe kudos to Kingsley and being progressive and trying to get
that was Kingsley's creation, man.
Yeah,
that's a little too creative.
First of all, it was a bad idea because people were still getting beat up. If I was the guard at the lighthouse and I got knocked out, bad idea. I'm mad at you.
I'm suing.
Yes, I'm suing.
So I just want to touch a little bit of the imagery, right, that they had there. Sometimes I'm figuring maybe I'm looking a little too much into this, but I like the imagery. So that opening scene, right, you get this thick fog, right, and then like it's okay, you're hearing like maybe ocean sounds or something like that, and then the ship comes cutting through, and it's like, oh, okay, is that foreshadowing an awakening for later on in the movie? I don't know, but I like that scene.
Okay.
You went pretty deep with that. I like that.
Yeah, that's just one way to look at it. And then the other scene I really liked here, I made a note of it. Two of the scenes I really like. I'll touch on them real quick. And one was how colorful those scenes were with his wife in the earlier in the movie, like those daydream or hallucinations, how you want to call them. It was
delusions.
Yeah, so they were so bright and vibrant, like compared to everything else that was going on in that film. So that one stuck out to me as well. And then there was the absolute opposite of that when they were in Ward C?
Yeah.
And you have those scenes where all these metal like stairs and ramps and stuff, and you kind of look down and it's like it's a really cool image. And but it's super dark, and he's wearing the white orderly suit, and so he kind of sticks out a little bit. And that was again really good imagery. I'm not sure who was responsible for that, but that was some pretty cool.
You're highlighting some good imagery, and there's another piece of imagery that stood out to me. It was when it was one of the dead kids scenes, which there seemed to be a lot of in this film.
Yeah, there were.
But there was one of those dead kid scenes where, if you pay close attention, he's smoking a cigarette, and the smoke was going back into the cigarette.
Yep, it was going backwards.
But again, see, it's imagery like that kind of puts you in this world is spooky. There's some things happening around here that I'm not familiar with. You know what I mean? That's kind of like, I like that in a quasi-horror movie. Because I don't always need the blood, guts, and gore. You know what I mean? And I like the spooky things like that. It's kind of like, that's a little weird. And another piece, not specific to imagery, but just great work by the crew and cast is we don't give Ruffalo enough credit for the job that he plays in. Because Ruffalo is essentially monitoring this dude from start to finish, and we don't know it until the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
So what I did was I watched it once, got to remember it to what it was, then watched it again. And once I did, I realized Ruffalo put the ball in his court every chance he could. How do you feel about it, boss? What should we do here, boss? I'm like, now I get it after the second view. Because he's trying to get this dude to come out of this delusion that he's in, allowing him to make decisions, and allowing him to see the repercussion of those. This is excellent work, fellas. This is excellent work. And so, salute to Ruffalo. I would argue that he probably stole the show from DiCaprio, if you ask me.
I don't know how to go that far,
bro. Slow down.
I mean, he did bring his A game.
Oh, no, he brought a new level and a new. He brought some freshness to it. He ain't still no show from Leonardo. Cut it out.
Most top three, so he's gonna be biased.
I do want to point this out real quick, but I love the scene where they're talking about the doctor. Leonardo and Mark Ruffalo was there interviewing the patients, and the older lady, she was like, "Oh, that doctor is a handsome guy," and he's sitting right there. You don't remember that scene?
I didn't repeat that.
Oh man, he was like, "Where's the doctor?" He was like, "Oh, I don't know. He left." And she was like, "Well, that doctor is a handsome guy."
But so in that same scene, though, Moon, she tells DiCaprio to run.
Yeah.
Why?
Because she know it's a scene. She know what they're doing. They all know it's a play for him. She told him to run so that he can get away. But he don't know that at the time. He don't know that. But she told him to escape. He got an opportunity. He got free reign to do whatever you want right now. This is your time to escape. Run.
Interesting that you see some of the orders, especially when there was a warden when he turns up the next morning after sleeping in the cave that Mo was talking about, and he was like, "Oh, we knew you'd turn up sooner or later." This is the craziest experiment I've ever heard of. This dude, a mental health patient, clearly delusional, is out all night by himself on an island,
beating people up. He beat up multiple people. People.
That part. I mean, I think if it was nowadays and that was real, so somebody would be arrested, right, rather than this experiment, because there's no way you're gonna just have some random guy run around beating up your staff. It's like it doesn't make sense.
Beating up your staff, he beat up another patient. He beating up mad people.
Well, I think that's just a sign of showing just how much level that the doctor is taking on this whole measure, because he's like, if I stop now, this will all be for nothing. I'll probably end up losing my license, going to jail.
It's all or nothing now.
Yeah, I have to make this work. Like this is it.
So if people die, let them die. As long as I can prove my point, right?
Well, no. If he can actually break Leonardo, get him to see, what he needs to see to get better, then he successfully made it. But
they kind of hinted to that by when they was having a room with him in the lighthouse. He was like, "This is all on you, man. If we fail with you, shut us down."
Yeah. Can I just give this is our first ever unspoken Dumbass of the Year nominee. I just want to give this out real quick. Never in the history of life am I chasing a mental patient down a dark hallway. What were you trying to prove?
Yeah.
That should have turned out a lot more severely than it did.
Yeah. Not only you chasing a mental patient, you're chasing a criminally insane mental patient. Like someone who's committed probably some sort of violent crime. Like what drives you to do that? I don't know.
But keep in mind, this is all for breaking his psyche. And what we know about Leonardo is he's that dude. That's what his whole life was. He was a detective. He was always trying to solve the big cases and stuff like that. He was so dedicated that he didn't give the dedication of time to his family and see that his wife was suffering from postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And as a result, he lost his whole family.
Yeah.
So they had to tap into where he works best to unlock. They wanted him to solve his own mystery.
Yeah.
Basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I appreciate that. I think that's clever writing to me. I think that's clever storytelling to add that layer in there. There were two scenes that stood out to me on a hit home for sadness, emotion type of thing, which you want to see a little bit of, especially in a quasi-horror movie. One of them was obviously the major plot twist up in the tower where Kingsley says to him, "Well, where's my partner?" He's doing that shit, right? You don't have a partner, right? And I'm like, oh. Like, if you're watching it fresh for the first time, you're like, oh, I can't believe it. That kind of fucked with me a little bit. I gotta admit that. there was a part of me that wanted him to be a U.S. Marshal, right?
Yeah.
Like I started getting a sense that, oh no, I think this is going somewhere else. And then I'm like, that scene confirms it, right? And then the second part to me was when he was sitting on the stairs at the end of the film with the doctor, right? And the orderlies and the warden and everybody was over there. Kingsley as well, they were standing off, right? And it was just DiCaprio and Ruffalo. And he'd already made the breakthrough that Jamal had spoken about, right? Where, no, I know who I am now. I know my wife killed my kids, and I killed my wife for this. And he'd made that breakthrough, right? And then Kingsley was yelling at him, "Hey, listen, we've done this before. You convinced me that you were okay, and then you backtracked, right?" And he says, "No, this is what it is, right?" So I was like, okay, maybe he's making a breakthrough. Then they're sitting on the stairs, and he says, "We gotta find a way off this rock, Chuck." I said, "No." I was hurt, bro. Because I made the breakthrough.
But did he not make the breakthrough?
Let's talk about it. That's where I was going.
Did he not make that breakthrough? Because it sounded like to me, he might have made that breakthrough.
He had a quote there at the end.
Yeah.
Because of course once he says we gotta get off this island, Chuck, Ruffalo's like telling the warden and the doctor, hey, this whole thing failed. This whole elaborate thing failed, right? So they were gonna take him and they were gonna lobotomize him. That was the end game, right?
Yeah.
But then he gets up, he walks towards them, and he says, what would be worse? Life as a monster, or live as a monster, or die as a good man? It makes me think.
Chuck, you said the quote, by the way, so all right. You took the quote. I'm sorry.
What would be worse? Life as a monster, or live as a monster, or die as a good man? The unspoken, listen, man. I trampled over the Springer quote, so pardon me. But it makes you wonder, did he have some recollection of what he was actually going through? Was he back in his depressed state? Was he back in a delusional state? I can't call where he was.
It sounds to me personally that the fact that he got up and walked with him so easily, it sounded like he wanted to all go away. He didn't want to remember what happened with his wife and children anymore. He just wanted it all go away, and he knew what he was doing to get there, and that's why he just stood up and walked straight with them, like nothing was going on. He knew the key words that I had to say to get him to get where he wanted to be, and that's what I think. It was just a game.
The last thing we got to touch on here before we get into the stars.
I got another one that we got to touch on too.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I just talk about what you were just talking about? I'm sorry, because I have to do with that topic. Because I think the thing we want to kind of keep clear here is that he was having the moment of clarity. That doesn't necessarily equal a breakthrough. Yeah, I think that's what the doctor was alluded to, was that yes, you have these moments of clarity before where we thought you were okay, you had made this breakthrough. Couldn't find out that you just went back and relapsed right afterwards. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where, like, all right, you get where the doctor was coming from on that, like, moment of clarity, not breakthrough.
Yeah. And I guess so. Let me just jump right back in here, Moan, before I hand it off to you. My statement with that is, because Jamal alluded to it earlier. Can you blame this dude? Can you blame him for the snap that he incurred here with what the dramas and things that he's endured over his life? I don't know if I can blame him.
No.
You come home from a hard day's work and you see that your wife drowned your kids?
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to that. The heartbreak that must have happened there.
Yeah, the only thing I can blame him for is the fact that he shot his wife. He shouldn't have shot his wife. but you know, he was in he was in that broken state. You know,
Sure he was.
yeah.
Oh my God, the level of trauma that he was in at that moment.
Yeah. So
I mean, that does back in the question: what would you do in a situation like that?
No one knows. Anyone who can answer that question is lying to you.
yeah, I agree.
And don't let Jamal put you in that trap.
You
It
know,
never goes down, Jamal.
You know,
Jamal like you stated on this video that you.
Mo, talk to us, brother. You had something you want to get into before we go to our star.
I want to say how his delusion and the doctors was playing a game against each other. Did y'all kind of see that? Did y'all kind of notice that?
No.
So the doctors was telling him he was there to find the lady who ran away.
Mm-hmm.
His delusions in the beginning was telling him, "Hey, you're here to find the guy who murdered his wife," right? So they was kind of battling there. So he's acting like he's searching for the lady, but in reality, he's searching for the guy, right? But as the movie go on, his wife's delusions started to change, right? His wife's delusion, when he finally is able to get to the lighthouse where he thought the guy was, now his wife's delusion is saying, "Don't go there. Don't go up there." But the doctors want him to go there. The doctors want him to go up there. So now his delusions change so that they can stay. If you go up there, you're going to end it all. Don't go up there. Don't do it. So it's like his delusions and the doctors was playing a game against each other throughout the whole movie. So when they actually found the girl and brought her there, his delusions flipped it and created a woman in the cave. And she acted like she was the woman. And then they added to it by saying, "I'm not only the woman, but I had no kids. I was actually a doctor. And the reason they're doing this is because they're doing tests. And they're doing the test in the lighthouse." So the brain, his delusion was still trying to get into the lighthouse until they realized, wait, they're actually getting up here to take away the delusions. We don't want that to happen. So now his mind is like, don't go up there. We've been fighting to get to this lighthouse the whole movie to get this guy, but now don't go up there.
I couldn't remember. Did they ever get into what he suffered from?
No.
I don't think they diagnosed it unless I missed it. Yeah, they don't think they diagnosed it.
If they did, it was like in passing, and Kingsley was having the conversation about something, but it was nothing that was highlighted in the film. That was great. That was a great run through there, Mona. And what it does is it appreciates the levels of this film. Scorsese he's not a cinematic god for no reason. Like he does this, and he does it generally because he layers stories on top of stories and ideologies on top of ideologies, and keep you thinking throughout the course of the film. And clearly there was more of that here. We have reached that point of the show, fellas. Jamal, we always start with you on these. Shutter Island. I mean, listen, it's not even an award-winning film. But I'm here to capture what you think about this, brother. Scale of 1 to 5 we generally use here on The Unspoken. We have yet to come across a classic film. We've been close, but no cigar. Jamal, start us off. 1 to 5.
You know what? I'm going to give it 5.
Whoa.
I think the cast was amazing. The storyline was amazing. The finale was amazing.
Where?
Okay, mic drop.
I think Jamal belongs on Shutter Island. For that
I have no idea where that came from. Where did the 5 come from?
Who knows?
We've been begging Jamal for a 5 for the last, I don't even count how many episodes. Adrian, talk to us, brother. Shutter Island, 1 through 5.
Like the film, though. Again, agree with everyone. The casting was great. Some of the imagery was really, really powerful. But overall, I felt like it was lagging a bit. It was missing kind of that it factor for me. When it comes to like this is a film that like I want everybody to go see type of thing. So I'm actually going to give it a 3.
Ooh, one of your lower scores.
Yeah.
Okay. Mo, 1 to 5.
I'm gonna give it a 4 only because of Leonardo.
That is not a reason to give it a 4, Moan.
It's my reason. It's my reason. 4.
I'm going to go with a 4 as well, not because of Moan's reason, of course. But I do think Jamal was onto something by saying that this is a great movie from start to finish. Storytelling was elite, casting was elite, plot twists were incredible. I mean, that's all I ever look for in a film. You got to give me those big 4.
Mm-hmm.
This one did that. I think it's like Dre said. It missed a
signature moment, a signature
wow
feel.
Factor, a classic wow. That one part that makes you remember it. It doesn't give me that.
Yeah.
And it's I'm looking for it. You know, I'm like, okay, give me the bang. And maybe you don't have a partner. Maybe that was their attempt to be it, but it didn't go all the way over.
Mm-hmm.
Great line, great plot twist. It just didn't push me to a classic. So I'm gonna give it a 4.
All right.
So the unspoken, we will continue our journey towards looking for a classic film. If you have comments or films that you'd like us to discuss or review, certainly hit us in the comments and let us know. We're always open to taking on challenges and trying to get our hands around that elusive classic movie. So until we do, I am Charles Jones.
Super Bowl.
Adrian, Mr. Cinema.
This is The Unspoken, and we'll get with you the next time.